Hey everybody, welcome back to the Gamble Smart channel. Hope you're doing well out there. Today we're going to talk about casinos, all the different types of casinos and what the pros and cons of each of them are. All the different online type casinos. You have sweepstakes, you have social, you have class 3, you have horseplay, you have all these different online casinos, but are there any differences between them? Yes, there are, and some are pretty significant. But we're also going to tackle land-based casinos, and then we're going to talk about kind of the pros and cons of each, and I'm going to give you some of my commentary. So if you've ever wondered about different types of casinos and which are the highest risk and lowest risk for you to be putting money on the line, it's a video for you guys. Let's get into it. All right, so I hate to take you back to grade school, but that's what we're going to do here. I actually put together a presentation. This is the first PowerPoint that I've done in years, guys, but I got to stay on topic here, and I want to make sure this flows really well. We'll also put chapter markers down below in case you want to skip around, because some of these you may already be fully aware of, but if not, we would love it if you could watch the whole thing, because you might get educated on some of these things, especially the pros and cons, so that you have the best information going in, right? We will always render opinion on where we prefer to play, but ultimately it's going to be your decision, and we will give you the tools and the knowledge to be able to make that decision as we go through this. All right, so let's talk about land-based casinos versus online casinos. So let's start with the land-based casinos. This is the most popular, the oldest. Vegas, New Jersey, Atlantic City, you know what I'm talking about. Lots of flashy machines like the ones I have behind me. Class 3 is the most common, and that are these type of machines, right? These are the ones that are non-bingo related or server related or whatever. It's you versus the random number generator in that machine. Definitely the most common. You see these in most casinos around the US that you physically go to. All right, then you have Class 2, which is really popular for you guys around Oklahoma. If you've ever been to an Oklahoma casino, most likely you've run into a Class 2 machine. You hear those bells going off, you know, the annoying bells. You have the bingo cards. A lot of people don't make any sense out of it. I totally get it. It's a little weird. It's like I see a bingo card, but then I see 3 reels in front of me that look like a slot machine. What the hell's going on? So they're just simulating randomness there. And we've done some videos, kind of a deep dive on the Class 2 bingo style machines and how they work. And we'll put some in the description below in case you want to go check those out. But very popular in Oklahoma and some other states too, usually around travel areas. And then you have VLT, which is video lottery terminals. These are real popular up in Washington State, amongst others. These are basically the state lottery system that is supplying the wins and the losses and everything else. And then they feed them into a server that then distributes them randomly around the room. But you're playing slot machines, or what look like slot machines. So it's very familiar atmosphere to be playing these things. It's just the randomness is generated off what the state lottery has provided to that casino. So it's a little bit more complicated. We don't have a whole lot of details on it. We're hoping to get some more soon so we can do a dedicated video, because shout out to all you guys out there in Washington State. We hear you. You're always telling us in the comments, hey, you got to come up here. We'll make it there, I promise. And then you have HHR, which is pretty popular kind of in the East Coast, Midwest kind of states, Kentucky, Tennessee, those kind of areas. HHR, historic horse racing. And so what this is doing is similar to Class 2 bingo style games. It's basically just generating randomness, right? So what they're doing to generate that randomness is going back and looking at all the historical horse racing data that they have. All the different horses, all the different races, who came in first, who came in second, and then they take all that information, compile it down into some raw format stuff where basically they're pulling from that to generate the randomness into a slot machine that is familiar to you. And so instead of you watching horses go around or watching old tapes from, horse races and stuff like that, this is a little bit more exciting and a little bit more easy for us to understand. So, all right, so let's talk about the land-based casinos. Entertainment and atmosphere, right? So being able to go out, enjoy yourself. We think this is also good for budget control, because when you're done with your play or whatever, it's a lot easier to just leave that environment and get out the door. So a lot of entertainment value there. Trust and regulation. This is a big one for us. There is no other casino type that we're going to talk about in this presentation that has more trust and regulation than land-based casinos. And I know a lot of you don't feel that way sometimes, but it's the God-honest truth. They are highly regulated, highly audited. There's a lot of people in there making sure everything's on the up and up. Amenity and rewards, right? So probably the best comps you'll ever get is in a land-based casino. Free rooms, restaurant credits, things like that. Get to enjoy the pool. You get to do all kinds of things that you may not normally be able to do if you were just visiting, right? So this is a nice thing. We love the perks. We love the rewards, cash back, things like that. Social interaction. That's the main reason I like to go, because I hate going by myself. I really like going with a friend, because it builds so much more excitement, right? Going there, enjoying yourself. And then immediate payouts, right? You go up to the cashier's cage, boom, you got whatever your ticket, chips, whatever you're cashing in, you get it right away, no delays whatsoever, and you can get the hell out of there, right? So some of the cons, accessibility and convenience. So this is obviously a problem. You have to physically go somewhere. The closest one to me is WinStar, and that's a 3-hour drive. I think it's a good thing, so I'm not there all the time. But for some people, it could be a 5-hour drive, or sometimes they have to fly. Maybe you don't have a car. Maybe it's difficult for you to get to. So certainly a con, right? Higher costs to the player. Typically, you go buy a bottle of water, it's $6. Restaurants are expensive, rooms are expensive. They've got resort fees, they've got parking. They got all this stuff where in the online casinos you don't have any of that. So it's just something, kind of the fact of life of going to a land-based casino. That is definitely a con. And limited game variety. Sometimes it really depends on the size of the casino, but sometimes you can't find your favorite game. Where on the online version, it's just really easy to find, right? So definitely a con there. Distraction and pressure, and what this means to me is essentially you have the pressure to keep playing, right? Whether they're doing a free $100 giveaway every hour, or your friends are still playing, there's some social pressure to continue to play that you may not necessarily have at home playing online. So it's something you really got to factor in, and that's why we say go in with a game plan before you even tackle any of this stuff, because it can be overwhelming with the social pressure inside of a land-based casino. And then, of course, mind, crowd, smoke, and security, right? So a lot of us are not fans of smoking. If you're a smoker, no problem. We're not after you guys. Some of us just don't like the smoke. I know my wife's very allergic to it. I don't do well in it either. I got to get it out of there pretty quick if it's very smoky. And so that kind of detracts from the entertainment value, in my opinion, when you have the crowds, it's really crowded and smoky. And then, of course, the security is something we all have to be aware of. You hit a big jackpot, something like that, you may need to be fully aware of your surroundings, where if you're at home, you're pretty safe, right? So something to consider. All right, so let's get into the big topic. Land-based casinos was easy. This is the complicated one. Online casinos. So there's 4 different types that I'm aware of, or at least ones that we're going to cover in here. You have Class 3, which is the most uncommon. You have Sweepstakes casinos, which is the most common right now anyway. You have social casinos, and then you have live horse racing, which is a very, very small percentage, but something that's kind of up and coming right now. So let's go through some of the examples of Class 3 online casinos. These are like BetMGM, DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars Online, and even Borgata. That's pretty much it. Those are the only ones that are out there. And the pros of Class 3, of course, legally regulated and trusted. These are online counterparts of their land-based casinos. So it's basically an extension of that same regulation that's going into these casinos. So they're fully licensed. They use certified RNGs. I put that in here. And what that means is that they are using the same RNGs that they would put in each individual machine inside of a land-based casino. They're fully audited. You've got some entities out there that actually check these RNGs. They're using the same ones. So you can feel comfort in knowing that somebody is overseeing that stuff. And plenty of game variety, probably more than you would find individual casino, right? Because it's all electronic. They can easily stuff all the games in there. And a lot of manufacturers now are creating online counterparts of all the games that they have inside of the casino. So your Huff and Puffs, your Top Dollars, your Pinballs, all that kind of stuff, even Wheel of Fortunes, they're all in there in these online casinos. And usually they have thousands to pick from. And you don't have to hunt around for them and hope nobody's on them, things like that. So that's definitely a pro in my book. You can get on a machine and play it anytime you want, right? And of course, the convenience factor to it. I mean, how can you say no to that? The fact that you can do this from anywhere, and you're not limited. If you have limited mobility, or you don't have a car, you have a transportation or whatever to get to land-based casino, well, you can play the same games this way, right? Responsible gaming tools. This is what I like the most about online casinos. And I understand why land-based can't really put it in there, because the only way they could really track it is if you were using your player's card. But when an online system, you actually have to log in to be able to play, and you have to use that same login for your credits and cash outs and stuff like that. So that allows them to add some responsible gaming tools inside of there. For example, limiting the amount of play that you do every day. You can limit yourself to $300 coin in, for example. You could limit yourself to only be able to deposit up to $1,000 a month. Or you can pretty much self-exclude completely. If you don't feel like online is something that you can control, you can self-exclude, and they'll lock you out and you can't log back in. You can't do any play, you can't cash out, things like that. So those things exist in the online casinos, especially on the Class 3, and we like to see that. So that's definitely a pro in my book. I'm glad that they can do that. Maybe someday we'll get to see that in the land-based casinos, but right now they really don't have any way of controlling it. All right, and then of course the Class 3 cons, very, very limited availability. We only have, what, 7 states here: New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Michigan, West Virginia, Connecticut, Delaware, and Rhode Island. That's it. So if you're not in one of those states, this is never going to be a possibility for you. And this one is not one that's growing very fast. So we don't think that there's going to be more states added anytime soon. Of course, you have withdrawal delays. They have to verify it to you. There's a lot of verification checks because you're not going up to a cage and you're on camera and things like that. They need to do some additional steps, and that causes withdrawal delays. So it could take up to 24 hours. It could take 3 or 4 days, especially on your first one, because they need to verify your address, verify your license, are you in the right state when you were playing, all those kinds of things. A lot of verification goes into it, so that can of course cause withdrawal delays. And that there's some danger there too, because they make it really easy to revert that withdrawal. Like, you may get impatient, say, well, this is never going to come, so I'm just going to, cancel out of this. So, that's definitely a con. It's definitely less social because you're just playing on the toilet at home or whatever the case might be, laying in bed at night at 2 in the morning, eyes wide open, playing these games. So it's definitely less social. And that falls into this next one, which is risk of too much convenience. So convenience is good until it's not, right? And then you're suddenly playing everywhere all the time. And I've hung out with friends that have been like this. Like, we go out to dinner and they've got their phone the entire time and they're sports betting or, playing these online casinos. And that can be a problem, right? You start getting hooked, and it's hard because at least at the land-based casino, you can get out of there and come back another day, where we all have our phones on us. There's some risk there. And then there's always the banking hurdles. This is just inherent in anything online. Again, they may approve you, but then your bank has a problem with it. So you have to contact your bank and say, no, this is definitely a withdrawal or a payment request. Banks are inherently very nervous with any kind of online gaming. And so usually the first or second attempt that you make to fund any of these online gaming sites, they're going to end up locking it down, and then you have to do something to approve it. So it's just something to be aware of with these. All right, let's get on to Sweepstakes, which is the first one, of course. Big, huge pro, wide availability. This is available in most states. I think we're up to like 43 or 44. Some states are starting to put limitations on it. Some completely ban them. But right now, it's very much available to most people. Easy entry. It's very easy to get started on these sites. All you need basically is some kind of form to fund it. You can do it with PayPal, you can do it with a credit card, you can do it with a bank card, you can do it with a debit card, blah, 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 gift card, whatever you have. Basically, there's a lot of ways, even Bitcoin on some of these, to fund your account and get started gaming. So that's definitely a pro. There's no hurdles to go through. And it's casual fun, meaning that a lot of times you can just play for fun. You can not use the sweepstakes coins. You can just use the play money to kind of just have fun. Go through that before you start switching over to the wager thing. I also like the pro, where you can actually play the games with the free coins first to kind of feel the game out, see how it plays, and then go from there if you want to switch over to the actual real money wagering, which is indirectly the sweepstakes coins. And broad game variety, mostly unique games. So you're not going to find like exact duplicates like Huff and Puff or Top Dollar or any of those. None of those are going to be in there, but they will create versions that are similar. They'll have something with some kind of pigs in it, or collecting 6 hats or buzzsaws, but they won't be buzzsaws. They'll be something else. They'll be clones essentially, and that can be a good thing, because then they're not paying licensing fees and all that, so they can get these games pumped out a lot quicker. And there's a ton of them. There's a lot of games to choose from. Some of these have thousands, and it's kind of hard to find which one you want to play. So you won't get bored, let's put it that way. But let's move on to the cons of online sweepstakes, and that is murky regulation is the first one. This is all under very much a gray area. They're all using what's called sweepstakes laws, and they're pretty much similar from state to state, but some states have different ones. And it's not you playing with real money directly. You're basically playing with virtual currency, but it just happens to have a value to it that equates to money. So $1 equals 1 sweepstakes coin, for example. So it's just kind of a legal loophole, and that should make you a little bit nervous, I would think anyway. Withdrawals can be very complex. Sometimes it goes very smoothly. Again, just like with online Class 3 casinos, you're going to have to go through a verification process. They may have you upload, electric bill or something to prove you're at the address that your license is at. There's going to be that. And most of the times you're not going to have any problem, but we've heard some stories, of course, where people are, getting denied payouts because of a very simple difference. Like they put their middle initial on the sign-up form, but their middle initial isn't on their license, or vice versa. There's some stories out there. I'm not saying it's prevalent everywhere, but you just need to be aware of that. And so if you are going to play in these casinos, our recommendation is always going to be to start with a very low funding and make sure you do the full cash out and get the money in your account before you go back and deposit again, just to kind of test it out to make sure that they are legit and that you can actually get through the verification process before you start racking up a bunch of wins and then suddenly there's a problem when you try to cash out, right? That's not what we want. And here's the biggest part and concern for me is very little regulation. We'll talk about that a little bit later in this video, but guys, the oversight here on Sweeps casinos is much, much less compared to land-based casinos or online Class 3 casinos, and it should be something you're aware of. And it very much works on the honor system. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, because there's no regulation, there's no requirements for them to do a lot of the things that Class 3 land-based casinos require them to do. They're basically working off the honor system. If we continue to pay people on time and we continue to provide games that seem to pay, then people will keep returning. But again, there's no guarantee and there's no regulation to say that they must do that. Just like land-based casinos, there is lots of regulation that says you must do this. It must be at least 80% return to player. You must pay out on the spot. All these rules and regulations on those land-based casinos don't exist here. And so they're very much working off of the honor system because it is in their best interest to keep paying people, because if the stories get out that they're not, the whole money-making engine's going to die down, and they don't want that, right? So most of them are okay because of that. But again, there's nobody telling them or looking after it, if that makes sense. And here's one that I have a big problem with, and that is they do a lot of marketing to vulnerable people. I've signed up for these in the past, not for real money, but just for play money to kind of play the games. And man, talk about the onslaught of marketing. Dozens of emails every single week. I get text messages. Hey, deposit now and we'll give you, 300% in sweepstakes coins. You'll get this and that. It's just a lot of heavy marketing. And it's something to be very much aware of, that they are trying to get you to play the sweepstakes coins as much as possible. And just be prepared for that. When you sign up for these, you're going to get a lot of marketing material shoved in your face. And that could be bad for anybody that's very vulnerable to signing up and starting to play with real money. So just be careful with that. All right. Now we have the online social casinos. Now these are not really casinos in a way. They're just mobile apps, right? So for example, there's no real money involved except for you buying virtual coins to be able to play some of the games on there. And it's not necessary. They have to provide you some kind of free daily type coins. Most of them are pretty generous, especially at the very beginning. So you can get a lot of play, and it's basically purely for entertainment because you cannot withdraw any cash from these systems, right? And so that's definitely a big pro, is entertainment without risk. You're not putting a lot of money on the line. If you buy coin packs, it's maybe $3 or $5 every now and then, things like that. It's not a humongous risk, but you're getting a lot of entertainment value for the low commitment, if that makes sense. If you commit at all, you don't have to play with real money. You can definitely get away with that. It's available everywhere. There's no regulations here, so it's just like you playing in any of these games on your mobile phones. I've been sucked into this stupid Royal Kingdom app after 3 months of 3 years of making fun of all the ads that they have sent my way on all these other games. I finally said, I want to check this game out, and boy, they got me hooked. Every now and then I get stuck on a level, I got to buy a coin pack to get through it. Yeah, they got me good. But that's the same thing here. Like, that's what's going on here. You can resist the urge to buy additional coins, come back the next day and get some extra coins to play with, things like that. It's a free-to-play model, like I said. They usually provide you some either daily stuff or some things that you can share with your friends and get 10 million coins or whatever the case is. So there's a lot of opportunity there. Social interaction, this isn't super strong on a lot of them, but you can create friends lists and you can play together. Some are better than others. We like Pop Slots. They are a sponsor of us, full disclosure. But we like them because they actually do have that social component where a lot of the bonus rounds are a collection of people all at the same time, and it's kind of fun to interact with people. But there's other ones out there that offer that, but some are just like you versus the game, and that's it. So I'd like to see a little bit more social interaction. I think it would be a little bit more fun on some of these games, but we'll see where they go. And a very good variety of games. And in fact, a lot of the games that you play inside of the casino are going to be in these apps, which is really cool. Jackpot Party app. Let's see what else. You got the Quick Hit Slot app. These are some really popular ones. Any ones that SciPlay do. You can play Huff and Puff, all the different versions of Huff and Puff in those, and games that you see inside of the casino. And I love that because for daily coins or $3 or $4, you can get a lot of entertainment without having to put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds inside of a casino. And this is a very strong pro for me, and there's a reason why I like playing these. If you're just trying to pass your time away, and maybe scratch that itch a little bit. If you're itching to go to the casino, well, buy a $10 coin pack on one of these games and you'll be set for the rest of the night playing, where you probably will not be the case if you spend $10 in the casino. It will be over very quick, right? Of course, some of the cons, no real winnings. It's not wagering anything. So that could be a pro and a con, but it's definitely a con. Like it's not a gambling device. It's not a gambling type game, and you just need to be fully aware of that. In-app purchase pressure. This is the one thing that probably drives me the most crazy about these. Even pop slots to an extent. It's just too much. Like to get to the action, to get to the game, you got to click X on like 50 different things trying to get you to buy coin packs. And oh, you need to go check on your artichokes. You need to start watering them. It's like I just want to play the slots. I don't care about my artichokes. Collecting cards and trophies. I don't care about all that stuff. Let me just get to the action. So a lot of them are a little heavy on that, and I wish they weren't so aggressive with it. Especially if you haven't played in a while, they'll just hit you with every single, oh, get 300%, 400%. It's like, just leave it alone. At least calm down a little bit. And there's no regulation here, but there really doesn't need to be any. They can set their RTP to whatever they want on these games. But it does kind of, a con is a gambling risk. Like it's going to teach you behaviors because you're going to be playing these games and you may start to feel, oh wow, I'm winning a lot on this game. Let me go into the casino and find this game and start playing it. Your odds may be completely different. These games are not programmed exactly the same as they are inside of a casino. Now they're similar, but there's no guarantee that they're playing exactly the same bonus frequency and such like that. So you got to be very careful with that. And that's where it can be misleading, where people may say, wow, this game hits very often. Man, I'm getting buzzsaw bonuses like crazy. And then you get into the casino and start putting real money on the line, and suddenly there aren't getting bonuses. You're like, well, what the hell's going on? They're just different. They're the same theme, same game type, but there could be enhanced payouts and stuff on these games. So it can be misleading, and you should be careful of that. All right, then this is the new one that's starting to come out, online live horse racing. And one of the ones that is part of this is called Horseplay. You've probably heard of it before. And full disclosure, we probably will be doing some advertising with them very soon because we've been working with these guys for the last 6 months to really take a deep dive into their product, to understand it, from compliance to regulation to the cash out process. We even had a bunch of secret shoppers go in and play it, tell us about their experience, and we feel really good about these guys. We love the team over there. So this is something you're going to be hearing from us very, very soon. But for reasons I just described, like we put them through the ringer, guys, like seriously, like 6 months. I'm glad they haven't just showed us the door at this point because they're, because of how long we're stretching this out. But it's important to us. Like there will be people out there that want to get online gaming. They want to do it, and we want to find the right fit for them. And we feel like these guys are at least something that we can offer, that we can stand behind. So fully licensed and regulated in the U.S. That's incredibly important for us, right? Sweepstakes casinos are not regulated and licensed in the U.S. The servers are somewhere else. They're not even here. Now, their team may be located in the U.S., like support and billing and all that kind of stuff, but the actual servers are not located here. And so we can't, as no regulators can do anything about it. And that's cautious. That you should be cautious with that. And here, it's all based inside of the U.S., so you don't have to worry about that. And it uses live horse racing data. So this is why I think this is kind of brilliant, because instead of and that's why it's only available in states, and we'll get to that because that is one of the cons. It's only available in 18 states, and those 18 states are states that have live horse racing. And so because of that, they're able to basically create casino-style games. And they have some good replicas of some of your favorite games on their platform. And it feels like a slot machine, but it really isn't. What you're actually wagering on is live horse racing data, and that's basically live horse races that are going around in all 18 of these states, and that's how it feeds into the randomness of these casino-style games that you're playing. And we think it's a really cool technology, and that's why we've kind of, been working with them. And you can self-audit the results. So you can actually go in and say, okay, I won $10 on the slot machine. Let me go see what the racing data said for that $10 win, and you can go and look at it. So you know it's on the up and up. We think that's really cool. Nobody else does that online. Excellent responsible gaming tools. We latched right onto this. You can set all these limits I talked about before about daily deposits, daily playthrough. It's a one-click self-exclusion. If you just decide this is not for me, you can quickly self-exclude and they kick you out of the app. You can't ever be on there again, or if you want to just self-exclude for a year, you can do that. But those are the tools that we like to see, especially with online gaming, because it's incredibly important. I mean, you need to have a certain level of discipline if you're playing online, and that's going to be important, right? And a good variety of game clones, like I said. So you may not recognize the titles, but they're pretty much clones of other games that you're familiar with inside of the casino. And some cons, only available in 18 states. I listed them here. The credit purchases can be a little bit confusing because you have to actually, with the time that you buy the credits, it's actually already decided what you're going to win or not. And so it's a little bit confusing because you're basically deciding the results before you even start spending on a machine. So that confuses some people, and we're going to try to explain that in the video coming up so people really fully understand what's going on here. And the withdrawal delays, that exists here too, 24, 72 hours. Usually it's pretty quick, but sometimes, again, for bank delays or verification delays, you're going to have that. And like I said, familiar game clones, but not the exact ones. So if you're looking for specific, like Tabasco or pinball, stuff that I have behind me, you're not going to find those on here. These are very custom games that have been built by that team. And so that's definitely a con. If you're looking for a specific game, you're just not going to find it. All right. So let's talk about the biggest risk. We went through all these types of casinos. Let's talk about the biggest risk and lowest risk. So the biggest is online sweepstakes casinos. Probably not a surprise at this point based on what I said so far. And so there are a couple questions here that I wanted to show you guys and then the answers to them. So are online sweepstakes regulated the same as land-based? And I'm going to read this for you guys that are possibly just listening to this and can't see it on the screen. So, are online sweepstakes regulated the same as land-based? No, online sweepstakes casinos are not regulated the same way as land-based casinos. This means things like return-to-player percentages, random number generator audits, and dispute resolutions aren't monitored by gaming regulators the way they are in land-based casinos. So that's a red flag, right? There's nobody looking after them to make sure the RTP settings are fair, that their RNGs are being audited. Is it a true RNG or has it been manipulated? And dispute resolution. So if you have a problem with one of these, let's say that they kicked you off the platform and said, we're not going to let you withdraw, there's nobody to go to. There's no state gaming commission or anything that you can go to for protection and oversight there. And so that's a huge concern and red flag for us. And so I posed a different question. I said, in theory, could a sweepstakes casino make their RTP settings anything they want? As we know with land-based casinos, that's not the case. They can't do that. And the answer was yes. In theory, a sweepstakes casino could set their return to player to anything they want because there is no gaming commission requiring them to meet specific minimum standards or auditing their random number generators the way land-based and real money casinos are regulated. So that's a humongous flag. There is no proof of this, but the mere reason that this is a possibility should put up a flag. Like that should put your warning flags up. So if you are going to play in this environment, like I said before, minimum cash deposit, withdraw, wait till you get the funds, and then do that again. Just be slow about it. Don't load up tens of thousands of dollars and play in these casinos and then wait for the big cash out and then something happens. And also don't, if you feel like you're not winning or something seems amiss, then get your money out and go move to the next one or something like that. Just be on the lookout. That's all I'm saying. And the lowest risk, of course, is the land-based casinos. Well, why? Land-based casinos in the U.S. are subject to some of the strictest oversight in the gaming industry. We have talked about this ad nauseum on this channel. The framework is different depending on whether the casino is commercial, so state license, or tribal, operated under federal compacts, but the themes are the same: licensing, auditing, and consumer protection. All right? So you should always demand those three things, in our opinion. These are the things that you should be looking out for whenever you go into any kind of casino and start putting money on the line. So I hope you guys learned something. I know we're just like back to school here, but this is really important stuff, and we've been getting a lot of comments about this recently for obvious reasons. Like, where should I be putting my money on the line? what is safe, what isn't, how does the regulations work. And so I hope I was able to break some of that down for you guys. If you know anybody else that is struggling with this or not really sure where to place a bet, send this video to them. And of course, we love a subscription and thumbs up if you love this video. And as always, guys, gamble smart, gamble safe, be safe out there, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.